are here with episode number 7 with Nick's Rock and Wrestling Podcast. If you have noticed, it is not Wednesday, and I did not get a chance to post this on Wednesday because of some technical issues. The world we live in today, technology is great, but sometimes technology can be a real pain in the butt. So I had everything edited, ready to go, ready to post, and laptop kind of took a crap on me. Charger was taking a crap on me. So it really just kind of screwed me to post it on my usual time of posting the podcast on Wednesday. But nevertheless, I decided I would go back, re-record some of the intro stuff to give you guys a heads up that, hey, technical issues happen, but you will get this episode here on Thursday. And nevertheless, we got a big guest here, none other than Andrew Arch, independent wrestler from Stockton, California. Sat down with him a couple weeks ago, talked just everything there was about pro wrestling, how he got into the business, what's going on in his world. So look forward to having you guys listen to that interview. But first, I got some big news. I mentioned in the last couple of weeks that I was working on getting a YouTube channel up for the podcast, and the YouTube channel is now up. If you go and search in your little YouTube machine, you'll type in Nick's Rock and Wrestling Podcast. The first 2 episodes are posted up on there. I will be working in the following week to get the rest of the episodes, including this one, up there on YouTube. So you can go and listen there. If that's where you'd want to listen, you can download it there. Plus, I'll be adding a lot of bonus content. Maybe some bonus episodes that I have some ideas for, like maybe some fantasy bookings for pro wrestling, or some live video interviews with fellow musicians that I played with or I go to see. So a lot of bonus content. Maybe I'll even show some of my memorabilia up there in some videos. So a lot of bonus content is going to be available on the YouTube channel. So you definitely want to go and hit the subscribe button. Anytime I post something new, I will definitely let you guys know. But you definitely want to check that out. I'll have a ton of bonus content coming your way, especially with this being WrestleMania season. I'll have a ton of bonus content specifically from WrestleMania 31, which was 3 years ago that I attended. If you recognize the intro music, Sting's entrance music from WCW, I decided to throw that on there because it is WrestleMania season. He's one of my all-time favorites. Got to meet him a few years ago at WrestleMania. I actually made it onto the DVD chronicling Sting's career. So WWE, if you're out there listening, or Sting, I want some royalties for being on that bad boy. But as well, I want to do a little preview as we have the last stop before WrestleMania for WWE this Sunday night is Fastlane. And we got 2 great pay-per-views actually this weekend. Tomorrow night is Ring of Honor in Las Vegas. That's going to be on pay-per-view. It's going to be good. You got Jake Lethal and Dalton Castle, the American Nightmare, Cody Rhodes, Flip Gordon, some really good talent. It's going to be a good show. I'm going to try to check that out. But really, as I've done with the Royal Rumble and Elimination Chamber, I just want to do a quick little preview of Fastlane, and I'll probably do a follow-up maybe on the YouTube channel directly after, maybe a little bonus episode or bonus video. If you go and subscribe, if I get enough subscribers, maybe I'll throw up a little bonus video right after Fastlane to give some feedback on Fastlane and talk about my predictions and see where I was right or if I was wrong. But so far, 6 matches are booked for this pay-per-view, and it kind of feels like a throwaway. Not a lot of juice going into this pay-per-view. I think that's just kind of the way it is, the way the brand split is in WWE right now. SmackDown is kind of seen as the B show. They haven't put a lot of juice into this, and I think it's just really a filler to get to WrestleMania, and that's kind of what it feels like. But I want to go real quickly through the matches, make my predictions, and follow up and see how well I did. I always like making predictions, but I really feel like this is kind of cut and dry with this pay-per-view, and I think this is kind of why they're doing away with the brand specific pay-per-views and just going to one pay-per-view a month, because you can get all your big stars on one pay-per-view rather than this, which is kind of watered down because SmackDown is seen as kind of the B show. So, first, this match they just announced this past Tuesday. It's going to be Becky Lynch and Naomi versus Natalya and Carmella. I think this was just a match to put together to get them on the pay-per-view. Don't see a whole lot going on here. I think you'll end up seeing probably Becky Lynch and Naomi pick up the win. Not really sure where they're going with the SmackDown women's division besides Charlotte. As I've mentioned before, I think we're going to get Charlotte and Asuka at Mania. So not a lot really going here. You got to kind of think in the back of your mind, though, Carmella's got that Money in the Bank briefcase. So maybe she tries to cash in this Sunday to give the pay-per-view a little more juice. But I don't see her doing that. I see her possibly trying to cash in either at WrestleMania or post-Mania. So we'll see where that goes. This one was just announced as well on Tuesday. It's Shinsuke versus Rusev. I think this is pretty straightforward. Rusev going to take the loss here. Shinsuke is definitely going to win. Shinsuke is the Royal Rumble winner. You want to keep the momentum on his side. So I think you go that route. Shinsuke wins and is going to move on to his WWE Championship opportunity at WrestleMania. One thing that I'm very disappointed in is how organic Rusev has got over with the Rusev Day gimmick and everything. Rusev is amazing. I didn't realize how funny that guy is. I started watching Total Divas, and he's really got natural charisma and is really a funny guy. And he's super over with the crowd, so I'm kind of wondering why they're not giving him more of a push. I don't know if they didn't see this Rusev Day gimmick being any more the thing than a joke, but it's really gotten over with the fans. So I'm wondering why they're not doing much with him. Kind of hard, really, too, if you put him in a match against Shinsuke, who needs the win more than he does. Kind of feels like a weird booking match there. The next one is the SmackDown Women's Championship match. Be Charlotte Flair versus Ruby Riott. Once again, Charlotte has run through the Riott squad. Don't see anything different here. I think Charlotte gets the win fairly easy. And we see, I think if they really book themselves smart, is Charlotte will win Sunday and Asuka will come out and say, I'm challenging you. You're my champion of choice from winning the Royal Rumble. And you get Charlotte and Asuka at Mania, which is going to be a barn burner. It's going to be a hell of a match. Both those girls together. Going to be really, really good stuff. So I think that's smart. If not, I think we see Asuka Tuesday on SmackDown and start the build there. This is an interesting match, and for the SmackDown Tag Team titles is the Usos defending against the New Day. We've seen last year how many different combinations when the Usos and New Day wrestled, but they put on phenomenal tag team matches. So I think this is really going to be the match that's going to steal a show Sunday. But I feel it's weird that you're putting the New Day again with the Usos, and the Usos have been kind of building to a match with the Bludgeon Brothers at Mania. So you're kind of telegraphing who's going to win. So not really sure where they're going with this. I think they just wanted to put a match on there that was going to be a really, really good match. I think they're going to get, a 20-minute match, and it's just going to be like it was at SummerSlam and Hell in a Cell with these two teams. It's going to tear the house down. And then we have another championship match, the United States Championship, Bobby Roode versus Randy Orton. I feel that I should be more invested, and the fans should be more invested in this match. This match is kind of a dream match, considering Bobby Roode has spent all the time on the independents and through TNA and through NXT. Bobby Roode versus Randy Orton should be a huge match, but they just haven't put a real emphasis into the storyline and the reason they're having this match for the U.S. title. Jinder Mahal's kind of been a side note, kind of interfering. I don't think that we're going to get what we want from this. I think ultimately you're going to get some interference from Jinder, which will set up a triple threat at Mania for the U.S. title in Bobby Roode, Randy Orton, and Jinder Mahal. So kind of an interesting matchup there. And then finally, what I would like to call it, a clusterfuck of a main event it's going to be on Sunday, is the six-pack challenge where AJ Styles defends the WWE title against John Cena, Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, Baron Corbin, and Dolph Ziggler. First off, I think this is just way too many guys in a match for a championship. It's literally like the Elimination Chamber without the Elimination Chamber. It's basically a stalling tactic to get to AJ versus Shinsuke Nakamura at WrestleMania. We kind of know John Cena's not going to win. I don't think they're going to have him win his 17th championship at a B pay-per-view. They would save that for WrestleMania. I think he will ultimately take the pinfall so that AJ can get his victory back from a couple weeks ago on SmackDown, so that we set up John Cena versus The Undertaker at WrestleMania. Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn kind of have their own thing going. Baron Corbin and Dolph Ziggler were just kind of thrown into this matchup. So there's really no threat, I don't think. I think we're going to get that dream match of AJ Styles versus Shinsuke Nakamura at WrestleMania. I think this was just a delay tactic, kind of try to throw you off the scent by throwing John Cena in there. But I think we all know that we're going to get Cena versus Taker, Nakamura versus Styles at WrestleMania. So once again, I think this is just them trying to throw you off the scent. But there's no way AJ doesn't walk out. I'd be shocked if AJ didn't walk out WWE champion on Sunday. But there's kind of my predictions for the 6 matchups announced so far for Fastlane. We'll see how it goes this Sunday. We'll see overall how the pay-per-view is. So it'll be interesting as it's the last pay-per-view before WrestleMania. And just a quick reminder to follow the podcast on all the social media platforms. Twitter, the Twitter handle is Nick's R&W Podcast. Nick's R&W Podcast, follow me on there. I retweet a lot of stuff from whether it be other podcasts I listen to, whether it be other bands I'm discovering. I retweet all kinds of stuff, so follow me on there. The Gmail, Rock and Wrestling Podcast at gmail.com. Find me on Facebook, Nick's Rock and Wrestling Podcast on Facebook. The YouTube channel's up now. Type in Nick's Rock and Wrestling Podcast on the YouTube search. You'll find it in the channels. Hit subscribe there. All the episodes are going to be shortly posted up there. So all of that stuff, great way to find me on social media, and we can talk about the podcast, any suggestions you have, any guests that you might want to hear, anything like that. And I will talk a little bit about next week's episode too, because we got I got a pretty big guest, as well as I'll be going to Chris Jericho's band Fozzie's concert on Tuesday, so I want to give a little bit of a recap of that. But coming up next, Andrew Arch, local independent wrestler from Stockton, California. All right, here with my guest, Andrew Arch, independent wrestler here from Stockton, right?
Yep,
correct.
from Stockton, California.
So what's going on in Andrew Arch's world right now in independent wrestling here?
Oh, man. Lots of stuff. Well, actually, tonight I'm going to be up in Sacramento for the Sacktown Rumble at Total Wrestling Federation, and then next month I'll be competing in a Stockton street fight for the TWF Television Championship.
Oh, all right. Awesome. So does TWF, they do a lot of kind of Sacramento, Stockton, are they kind of one of those?
Their home base really is like the Colonial Theater in Sacramento, but they do shows in Manteca, Modesto, and Stockton, so kind of the San Joaquin area.
Okay, right on.
Yeah.
So one of the things I like to do, like, because it's fun to talk to wrestlers, like, what got you into wrestling? How'd you break into the business?
Mm-hmm.
All of that, like, how did that happen? Because I know for me, I just had older brothers that watched it,
Right.
So it was just kind of like, oh, dude, this is awesome. And then like the Sting Hogan feud was what got me. I was like, dude, Sting is so awesome.
Well, I mean, if I did, if I was talking about which wrestlers kind of like really got me into it, man, Undertaker.
Dude,
probably.
I mean, I think that's universal. Like,
Yeah.
Who doesn't like Undertaker?
My all-time favorite wrestler is Jake the Snake Roberts. I've always been very vocal about that. I just think Jake's one of the most convincing wrestlers. Like, he could convince you he was gonna kill you.
Yeah. Well, the crazy thing is, like, when I got into it, like, I got into it late, so like Jake was kind of out of it by then.
Yeah.
But then, like, when I went back and watched him, like, he's like that crazy guy, because like his promos were like, I'm gonna talk like this. Like, real soft, and you're like, most guys are like, no, I'm screaming at the camera, and you're like, dude, this guy might actually kill you. The way he's talking.
I just loved it because he would just like stare. All he had to do is stare at you, give you a look, and you're just like, I don't want him coming near me.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Jake is awesome. So what got you? What did you start in the business, and how did you get in from there? Was it just like, oh, I want to do that, and then like?
I had always wanted to be a pro wrestler ever since I was a little kid, but like everyone else, it's kind of, how do I get into this? How do I do this? And I at the time I was looking at a couple different places, All Pro Wrestling and APW, and SPW, Supreme Pro Wrestling. But what actually did it for me was my youth pastor at the time. I'm Christian, and at the time I donated a lot of time to the youth in my neighborhood, and my youth pastor was a former pro wrestler. I saw a plaque on his wall, said UCW Hall of Fame, and I went, "What's UCW?" And you were a wrestler? You know me how long, and you're just now telling me this? Like, why don't you ever bring it up? And apparently him and his brother formed a company called Ultimate Championship Wrestling years and years before, and then they came and did a show in Stockton, and I showed up early, just to set up chairs, and I was like, whatever I can do, guys. I really want to just help and be a part of this. And after conversation with them and their head trainers, they invited me out to Yuba City to train.
Oh, that's awesome. That's kind of cool. Like cool story to like have that kind of connection because it's so different now. Like when you watch all the documentaries on the guys from like the '80s and early '90s, they're like, no way to get into the business.
Right,
Like you
right.
had to like it was like a secret. Now it's so accessible. Like oh, just go on and look for wrestling.
Right,
school.
right. I think a lot of people are truly blessed to have the opportunities that we do because it, like you said, it wasn't possible to break into the business back then, but now you just have all these different schools and it's so accessible. So yeah.
So how long did it take you to train? Because I know like a lot of guys grasp onto it like a sponge and then
I definitely was not a sponge at first. I had a hard time grasping bumping, selling, and the psychological side of it. But I think it was about 6 months, and they threw me into my first match against a guy at the time was known by Sideshow Joe, but everyone now knows him as Joe Killmeister.
No, all right.
And yeah, Joe is an amazing wrestler. I have a great amount of respect for him, and yeah, it was a good match. It was a good experience.
Good learning experience. So, how many years now have you been in the business?
Shoot, 4 years, 5 years, going on 5.
5.
I don't know. It kind of all runs together. Honestly, once you get hit in the head a certain amount of time, it all kind of just runs together.
Like,
I think it's 4. I think it's going on 4 years now. I could be wrong, so don't quote me. But yeah,
awesome. That's cool. Like, yeah, that's so. It's just I know that talking to other wrestlers, it's like it takes a while before you really grasp like not the fundamentals, but like you can do this. Like
yeah,
you're good. Like it's because I know that like look at AJ Styles, he's like 34 and having like the best matches. They're like once you get to that like 10-year mark, then you're like really know what's going on.
Right. Yeah, definitely. I mean, and I've always been that person like, man, I suck. No, and other people tell me like you don't suck. You know, here's what you can improve on. And maybe it's not that it's like man I suck. It's more like I know who's better than me, and I know like who I look up to, and who I want to aspire to be like. So that's just kind of my goal. I look at all these other wrestlers, and I pay attention to all these other indie wrestlers. I was like, I want to be like those guys.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So this is always a curious kind of debate I have because like obviously I'm not a wrestler and like other people I hang out with aren't wrestlers and when we watch we're like oh that match was great but then like is it weird for like you being a wrestler like you sit there and you're like well they're doing this and this can you just turn it off?
So annoying.
Can you just turn it off?
No, you can't. It's well to me it's so annoying because I would watch matches and study like I would see where they mess up and where they tried to fix it, you know, because, you know, we were told, you know, watch for that so you can see how a pro fixes it. And now it's just annoying because we'll sit there and watch pay-per-views. Now, we used to watch pay-per-views solely for the entertainment of it. Now we watch pay-per-views and they're like, oh, botch, you messed up.
Yeah, because that's like being in a band. I'm like, sometimes I go and see a band. I'm like, oh, dude, he missed a note. Like, oh, that was the wrong chord. He wasn't supposed to play. And it's like, shit, I just used to go and enjoy it. Like, oh, now it's like, oh, God, fuck, it's almost a curse, right?
Yeah. It's just something you don't turn off. Once you get in that mind frame of, like, you know, thinking like a wrestler, it's hard to think like a fan.
Because I'll go on social media and I'll be like, man, that was a great match. And then there'll be, like, other people, like, actual wrestlers be like, well, they did this wrong and they did this wrong. I'm like... I would have never caught that if I would like if you hadn't said
it. It is hard to like snap out of or snap back into being fan mode. I will say that is until I meet those people that I look up to so much, I kind of turn into a little fanboy. Can't help it.
Yeah.
I think it was the first time I met you. Just had your guest Samurai.
Yeah.
You met Samurai, and like when I was coming in, like Samurai was painted as like that's the man. So, I mean, to this day, you know, he's still the man. You know, he's, you know, that's him. Guys like Rick Luxury or guys that I look up to, I think they're just amazing wrestlers. But when I met Samurai, he's like, how you doing? I'm Samurai. I was like, I know who you are, sir. My manager, it's very nice to meet you. Only recently have I got out of the habit of doing that.
Yeah, well, I still do that too. Like I always remember, like when you go and meet like any star, whether it's like in a rock band, they're always like,
Yeah.
"Hey man, treat them like normal people." Like the one that was like, I do pretty good, but the one was when I like met Stone Cold. I'm like, I can't treat him like a normal guy.
Right.
Stone Cold Steve Austin sitting in front of me and looks like he's had a few brewskis.
You know what? It's funny that you said it because I've had that happen where like people I've seen on TV, they go, come up and they treat you like a normal person. It's just like you were wrestling for WWE. Why am I like you don't need to talk to me like a normal person. It's cool. And a lot of those guys, they are professionals and they do treat you like a funny story was I was doing a camp out in, I think we were in San Jose or in that area. I was doing a camp and I was sitting there after the camp. I was talking to my wife and like we're just sitting there talking. She asked me how it was going, and this dude runs into me, like walks past me, and I just hear this voice. Oh, hey there, sorry, buddy, didn't mean to run into you. And it was Jimmy Hart.
Oh.
And I went, it's okay, Mr. Hart.
You can do whatever you want. You can go.
Right, you can run into me, definitely, sign something for me.
Yeah, I've heard he's a really nice guy.
Super nice guy.
Yeah, I heard he's like real upset, like because I've heard some indie guys say that, like, yeah, he's really like.
Yeah. The same show. I mean, I met Jimmy Hart. There was Lanny Poffo.
Oh, wow.
Right as I was taking my picture with Jimmy, Lanny walks up. Hi, my name's Lanny, and I'm like, I know who you are. It's nice to meet you.
You're the
sir.
Macho Man's brother.
You're the Macho Man's brother. You're Leaping Lanny Poffo. I know who you are.
Or the genius.
The genius, yes. Yeah, him, and then I met the Headbangers, and
Oh, the Headbangers. That's.
and then a big dude walks in and says, "Hi, my name's Kevin." And I was like, "Yeah, you're Kevin Thorne, aren't you?" And he's like, "Yeah, nice to meet you. I'm Andrew."
Kevin Thorne. He was in the WWE version of ECW.
Yeah. With Ariel.
With Ariel, and then he was Mordecai too. That was
Mordecai, Mordecai, yeah. I liked Mordecai. A lot of people have haters.
That was a weird gimmick for me. Like I didn't quite get it. When he was Kevin Thorne, I got it.
It was supposed to be the light version of the Undertaker.
Yeah, I figured they were doing something like that.
Yeah.
Speaking of Undertaker, he gets like they just did on something to wrestle with. Like they did like 94, 95, and like 96. Like they obviously with a 30-year plus career, you can't like do a podcast on all of the Undertaker.
Right.
They broke it down into little sections, and I'm like, dude, this guy did like he gets so much credit, but he should get so much more credit because he's had some crappy feuds over the years with like some just like really like that guy wrestled the Undertaker.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh man.
but even though he's had crappy feuds, Undertaker feuds are like sex. When it's really good, it's amazing. But when it's bad, it's still kind of good.
Still kind of good. Yeah. Like it's so like some of them are so like hokey. You're like, okay, this is awful. And then you're like, you look at the like a feud with like Kane. You're like, this is amazing. Like, but then like you talk to like I've got friends that aren't wrestling fans, and like I explain the Undertaker and Kane and how they're brothers. They're like, that is like terrible storyline.
Yeah.
Like they're like, how's the Undertaker the good guy? Like he's the one that burnt the house down. Like, but doesn't matter. Throw out logic in wrestling.
Right.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah, just sit there. You're not a wrestling fan. You wouldn't understand.
You wouldn't understand. Like it doesn't matter. The Undertaker's always the good guy here.
And that's very much very very true. Like with like when you're a wrestler, people go, "Well, why do you do that?" It's a wrestler thing. You wouldn't understand.
Yeah,
it would take too long for me to explain, and even by the end of it, you probably still wouldn't understand. So let's just move on.
Let's just move on. So one of the cool things I like about your gimmick is obviously this is perfect because it's rock and wrestling. So you kind of have like a rocker thing going on. Like how did you kind of pull that into?
So the simplest way to put it is I made fun of my brother. So my brother. So when I was growing up, I was very much a very geeky, nerdy person. I didn't talk to anybody. Like I was very quiet, very inverted, very to myself. But my brother was a very outgoing. My brother's played in rock bands since I was a little kid, and I mean, even to this day, he's part of a band called Faith and Bullets. Little plug there. Little plug there. Faith and Bullets.
Check him out. Check him out.
Yeah. Check him out. Great rock and roll band in the area. But he's always been this rock guy, and every time I see him, like he's always had friends around him, and he's always had just he could talk to anybody. He could be friends with anybody. He could walk into a room and have friends in 5 minutes. And I was like, how do you do that? So very much when I came up with the idea for Andrew Arch, it was everything I wanted to be. Because I think every little brother, wants to be like their older brother. And that was very much true. I wanted to be like him. I wanted to be a musician. I'm not musically gifted. I mean, I could play the guitar kind of, but I can't even do a bar chord.
It doesn't matter. AC/DC only does 3 chords.
Right. So luckily every song from the '80s is like the same 4 chords. I would just, I wanted to be that outgoing person that everyone loved, or had like all the zebra pants and bandanas, and I wanted to be a cross between Michael Starr and my older brother.
Oh,
Michael Starr, Steel Panthers. Steel Panthers, my favorite band. So literally, when I came up with the gimmick, I basically did the bleach blonde hair like Michael Starr. All my shirts had like skull and roses on them, and the black and red pants and long bandanas and the big aviator shades. And I just acted like what I remember my brother acting like when he was at shows.
That's awesome that you bring up Steel Panther. That's that being your favorite band. That's we need a Steel Panther of pro wrestling. That's what we need.
Yeah, Steel Panther is my brother's favorite band, so it would make sense why that adapted to me. But yeah, so I just basically went out there and made fun of my brother.
So are you? I know, like, because after talking to Samurai and some other guys, like they're allowed to kind of use their gimmicks other way. Have you? When you go elsewhere, you Andrew Arch, or I know some guys change their gimmick depending on
so
what.
I've had 3 gimmicks, I think 3 gimmicks, and I'm transitioning into a 4th. So my original first gimmick, when we first started out, we would have these matches where we go out, we're the piece of meat. We're not supposed to, we're not getting over. Not even a little bit.
I mean, enhancement talent.
Right. We're enhancement talent. Yeah, that's
not jobbers.
Right. We're enhancement talent, not jobbers. But my first gimmick was the Mark Brick. When I wrestled for this company, we would come out as a mark. I hate the term mark and how derivative it is, because I think I wouldn't be a wrestler if I wasn't originally a mark first.
Well, that's what's so weird is like so many people like speak bad about marks. I'm like,
right.
I mean, it's not I would consider myself a mark, but like you can be an educated
right,
fan.
Right.
Like, I hate wrestling fans that sit there and just bitch about everything. Like,
right.
You can't find sit there and you can't watch a 3-hour pay-per-view and find something you like.
Right.
Like. It could be the most amazing pay-per-view, and then there'll be that one mark that's like, well, the finish of the main event sucked.
Right. So when we went out there, and we would usually be called the mark, and then something pertaining to the wrestler that we're imitating their name, and we would literally go out there and imitate them and all their nuances and everything. Well, there was a local wrestler named Nathan Brick who still wrestles to this day. Another guy I respect a whole lot, and obviously if I'm willing to imitate him, I respect him so much. But we were just joking around one day, and we're like, so what are you gonna do for the show? I was like, I don't know, man. I haven't come out. Like, it wouldn't be funny if you dressed up as Brick. And the men, like, in a joking fashion, I was like, actually, that would be kind of funny. I was like, I'll be Fat Brick, because Brick's very fit. And at the time, I wasn't. So I went up to Brick, and I was like, you got a problem with me, like, being the Mark Brick at the show? And he's like, no, that's awesome. So I just threw on the shirt, his custom shirt that he had, and just wore like some random shorts, and then he, as I was getting ready to go out, he gave me like his jacket to wear, his personal ring jacket, and I was like, oh, that's cool.
That's awesome. That's actually a clever gimmick. I'm surprised more people don't do that.
Yeah, and then the other one I did was we had a Rumble, and I was the Sting mark.
Oh,
dressed up like Sting.
Yeah, Sting's my all-time favorite.
Right.
So that's incredible.
Right, but I mean, other than that, I've always been the rock and roller of professional wrestling. When I was in training, they used to call me Rock of Love. Rock of Love, just because I had the long blonde hair. So they called me
the
Rock
bandana.
of Love. Bandana. I always wore bandanas, and it was never like really to like be rocker-ish. It was to keep my hair out of my face. That was really why I wore it, just keep my hair out of my face. But they started calling me Rock of Love, and it just adapted into the real rock and roller of professional wrestling.
That's awesome. Yeah. So, what are some of your favorite organizations, obviously, to wrestle for? Where have you gone? Have you just stayed in California? Have you moved into other states in the area? Nevada, Arizona, anything like that yet?
Well, later this year, I'm hoping to make it down to Mexicali. I've been in communication with a company down there, so really hoping to head down there. But the companies I've wrestled for are Wrestling for Charity, Valley Championship Wrestling, Total Wrestling Federation. Obviously, I would say TWF currently is kind of like my home away from home. I wrestle there more than I wrestle anywhere else. Man, I'm trying to think of the other. I've wrestled a handful of like lucha places, but I'm not even gonna try and pronounce their name because I feel bad because I know I wouldn't pronounce it correctly. So
That's interesting too. That you've been like the what I guess you could say the token white guy on the lucha show, pretty
Yeah.
much, because you probably don't put on a mask or anything.
oh no,
like
no,
that.
absolutely not. No, I'm exactly the same. I'm the rocker guy, and they kind of chuckle and laugh until they see this big dude get up and do a moonsault, and then they're like, "Hey, hey, look at that! All right, this guy's kind of cool." And usually when I do those, I just I have the events where I'm serious or the times where I'm serious, and but. I mean, when I go out there, I'm really just myself. Like, I don't even crank it up to 1,000. I just go out there and be goofy. I just go out there, be me, wrestle, do my thing, and, do what I do, and they like it.
Awesome. That's good stuff. So, talk a little bit about, I know, kind of Valley Championship Wrestling
Right.
is kind of your baby. So a little bit
Yeah,
about
so
that.
Valley Championship Wrestling was an idea. It was so when I was wrestling in the UCW, we were being trained there, and we had a few matches, and then unfortunately, one of our trainers passed. And after that, the company just kind of, you know, just died, died a slow death, which always breaks my heart because I have the utmost respect for all the guys who helped train me. But Valley Championship Wrestling was an idea because we couldn't it was hard to get trained, finish training anywhere else and get booked anywhere else. And so we were just like, screw it, let's just do our own company.
That's cool.
And really what it was like, they're not gonna book us or notice us. Let's create a platform to make them notice us. And that's really all it was. No, had nothing to do with about making money or we just wanted to wrestle.
Yeah, just creating yourself.
Right,
Doing it yourself.
And the people who joined were just people who genuinely, we were just all friends. We love wrestling, and that's all it was. And one of my closest friends in the business came down, and he's like, "Well, I'll work with you. I'll get you. He's like, I by no means am I a veteran, but I'll do what I can to help get you ready." And he came down and did a whole lot to help me out, and that would be Christian Sky.
All right,
Definitely, I would consider one of my. That's a brother right there.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So, how many shows have you guys done with Valley Championship? How long has it been in existence? Anything like that?
2. Been in existence year and a half. We did like 2 shows. So we did one free show to promote that we're going to be having wrestling coming, and then we did another show at the venue we were at, and everybody loved it. We didn't lose any money on the show. Well, actually, we did, but I don't consider it a loss with how much we lost. So, we didn't make any money on the show, and everyone was happy. I mean, the opening match was Aaron Sky versus Jacob Fatu. I mean, that's an amazing match. We had Thunder League, Scoot Robertson and Pat Fitzpatrick versus the Rejects, Bison Braddock and Joey Smoke, which was, again, an amazing match. Both amazing tag teams. And the main event was a fatal 4-way for the VCW North America Grand Championship. It was Christian Sky, Alphazo, Deontay Colt, which was a product of VCW, and myself. And
Awesome.
it was a wonderful match to get in there, mix it up with those guys, and just a whole lot of fun.
Are you planning on kind of trying to grow it as a company?
Yeah, we are. We have a show that's going to be coming up. We're not exactly promoting it just yet because we got to schedule a date, but we have a venue, we have some sponsors ready, and you'll definitely be hearing about it in the coming weeks.
Awesome. So, I asked Samurai this question because I'm always curious. How many championships do you hold, obviously, right now?
One,
One.
which is the Port City Championship.
Awesome. So Port City obviously being kind of a take on the Stockton
Right,
area.
right.
Type.
And my, I've slowly transitioned from the rock and roll up. I just go by Stockton's favorite son.
That's cool.
I wanted to be something Stockton based and something that was close to home and something that's very much more me and not so much, my brother, but something that was more me. And I love Stockton. I'm proud to be from Stockton. A lot of people are haters of Stockton, but I love where I'm from.
Yeah, well, I worked down here for a year and a half, and I think it gets a bad rap from
Yeah.
people see in the news.
Yeah.
But I didn't have it wasn't a terrible experience down here. I mean,
Yeah.
heck, if WWE's coming here to the arena, I mean, it can't be that bad, right?
Yeah, and I've moved multiple times, but I always wind up back here. But it's always funny when you move to a new city and people go, you're from Stockton. Stay away from him. They hear from Stockton, they just look at you wide-eyed and back away slowly. I moved out south after high school, and people just heard I was from Stockton, and nobody wanted to mess with me. But mind you, I'm not like, I'm not a confrontational person. I'll sit there and talk to you and joke around, and I'm like, a confrontation, come from a wrestler.
Yeah.
If I'm not in the ring, I don't want to fight. So it's just funny that people thought you were this tough person just because you're from Stockton.
So it's the main, because I know SPW runs kind of the sister company. What is down here?
Bushido.
Have you wrestled with them yet at all?
I wrestled at Stockton Con for Bushido, which I was very, very blessed and have the utmost respect for all the guys at Bushido and all the guys at SPW. And I wrestled Daniel Torch and James Von Eerie, both great opponents, both amazing wrestlers, and tagged with Austin Grayson.
Awesome. Yeah, Stockton Con's a great event. If anybody, I love that.
And honestly, when I first started, that was the goal.
Yeah.
I know it sounds like such a silly goal, but like Stockton Con was my goal because I remember standing at Stockton Con watching, I think it was Bobby Hart versus Aaron Sky, and I was just like, I want to wrestle here. It's in my hometown. I love Stockton Con. I want to wrestle here. That's my goal.
Yeah, the Stockton Con is great. I mean, I think last year they had like Rey Mysterio.
Right.
Do you guys? That's what some always interesting. Do you guys get a chance to talk with those like big time veterans when you're there, or is it just kind of like, hey, you're outside wrestling and they're kind of doing their thing?
This last year was my first experience, so I don't know how it's been in the past. Yeah. But this time, I mean, yeah, you can, but I didn't. I was so focused on just like, getting ready and just like focused on not screwing up. Because I do get a little bit more nervous when I am around a lot of those guys. Because I walk in a locker room and there's Daniel Torch, there's Samurai, Drake Frost, Scoot Robertson. All these guys that I respect very much. And when I was coming in, were and are the top guys.
Been doing it for a while,
Right? Yeah, absolutely. Multiple times better than me. So I mean, and it was just like, all right, I'm just gonna sit here and try not to say anything stupid, and just just chill out. But we didn't really get to meet anybody. Actually, Melina was there.
Yeah.
And the one thing I remember is I'm standing, like we were dressing in this hallway underneath the stands, and I'm standing at the end of this hallway, and I look down and Melina Perez just started walking down, and she walks past the locker room, and I see about 8 or 9 guys, like some of them half naked, some of them with just a towel on, run out and be like, "Melina, what's up?" All guys who of course had a crush on Melina growing up, just like, "Hey, what's up?
What's up, man? I don't have any clothes on."
All wrestlers, not gonna say who they were, but it was one of the funniest things I ever seen in my life. I was just like, that makes me feel better, because I would have done the same exact thing.
That's great. That's a great story. So how many matches would you say in your 4 or 5 years in the business have you probably wrestled?
Dude.
If you a rough estimate. I mean, that's hard.
Most guys write down, and I write down each match and who won, who lost, and I wish I would have stuck to doing that. I would say more than 50, but less than 100.
Okay, so, getting there is your goal to end up being, one of those indie guys that works every weekend when possible?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, if I could work every weekend and, make money, that's the ultimate goal. I would love to wrestle for places like TNA, WWE, things like that. But that was never the goal. I mean, the goal was to do what I love and try to make a living doing it. I know there are guys who do make a living doing this and do get paid good amounts of money to, they wrestle once Friday night, once Saturday night, and twice on Sunday. Guys like Rick Luxury, who can get booked by walking in and saying, "Hi, I'm Rick Luxury." And, everybody knows who he is. That guy's never hurting for bookings. I mean, I could never imagine. I obviously I don't know his personal life, but I could never imagine him hurting for bookings. He's the man. Guys like Samurai as well. I mean, Samurai can,
pretty much get booked wherever they want.
Yeah. In all the top companies, he can get booked wherever he wants.
So that's a cool.
I would imagine. So.
I would imagine they've been in the business a while and they put on great matches. So
right.
Definitely wanting to be able to make it a living. Obviously, that's the cool thing I like right now about it being 2018 is like pro wrestling is kind of I feel like on the upswing again.
Yeah.
It goes through those cycles where it's like
right.
It's cool to like it. Like the Attitude Era, everybody loved it, but then it's like, oh, now they're only WWE's the only game in town. It's not so cool. John Cena's, So are you seeing like more of a, more people trying to get into the business? Are you seeing more, attendance at indie shows kind of growing to what it may have been, a few years ago when you got in?
Definitely more people are getting more into it now that WWE is kind of making the WWE stars are making their way into movies and other like John Cena's,
he's that next kind of The Rock.
Yeah. How when Rocky originally like he broke out into do movies and he did Scorpion King and everyone started paying more attention to wrestling again and it's kind of the same thing I think now people are going to pay more attention to wrestling because of Cena and I definitely think it is in the upswing. I think there's more people breaking into the independent wrestling scene now more than ever.
Well, because you can make a lot. I just think about the New Japan guys. They're making money,
right?
Probably more money than they would make if they were in the WWE.
Right. Well, and I will say to anybody listening, like, if you're looking to get rich, don't be a pro wrestler. Don't be an indie wrestler. It's definitely not. It can be lucrative if you go to the right training and be, work hard at it and really make it your entire life. And, but for every one guy who makes a living out of it, there's 100 guys who are making a labor of love. It's putting more money than you're getting out of it into it.
So I know that obviously you said you want to get booked in other places. I know like being in a band, like, okay, I want to get booked there, and they ask for like sample music or whatever it may be. How is it going about when you're like, oh, I want to wrestle for that company? Are they like show us film, or is it just like over time kind of connection?
There's stuff. And everywhere I go, I ask guys, how do you get booked? The places I would really love to wrestle. The place I would really love to wrestle is SPW. SPW was like that first company that when I first got started, other than UCW, obviously. That is like the company that's, if I had to pick a place where I go to watch the amazing matches, it's SPW. But in companies in the past that I've worked for, it's usually by word of mouth. Like somebody who knows somebody who's on the roster.
Hey, we need a guy for the Battle Royal.
Right. Like when I wanted to work in TWF, they had contacted me for something. I won't go into detail, but it was not important. But they contacted me about something, and I met with the promoter, and they were gonna borrow something of mine, and I went, so do you need any extra guys for your next show? And they're like, yeah, you want to work? And I was like, yeah. I'm like, you good with this price? Yeah. I don't care. It's not about the money. I just want to wrestle. And I just asked, and a lot of it's just, hey, can I come wrestle? Or showing up to the show with your gear.
That's what I've always heard. Like I know I listen to in the mornings on Sirius XM. Bubba Ray does a show, and he's like, "That's how I got booked in ECW. I showed up and I had 8x10s in my gear in my bag.
Yeah,
they're like, we need a guy to take a choke slam.
Yeah,
I'm your guy.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. And that was how it was. Oh, you need someone to go out there and job? Yeah, sure, no problem. It's a job. I got no problem. Yeah. I don't care. You want me to go out there, be a nice guy and bad guy, goofy Punk. You want me to go out there and lose in 5 seconds? I don't care. Yeah, I just want to wrestle. Let me be a part of the show. That's all I care about.
So I know that obviously for me playing in a band, like you got to kind of pay your dues in terms of like, hey, you're the opening band and there's like 10 people here. Was it that way for you? Like, hey, we need you to job tonight. Hey, we need you when you got in, or was it like more of a, hey, we'll give you a shot and see what you got?
I lost my entire first year. My entire first year, I didn't win against anybody, unless it was I was wrestling someone who's just like randomly went, maybe I'll put you over tonight. but I mean, I was just happy to wrestle. I mean, I didn't care about winning. And you say, the term like paying dues. I believe paying dues is like very much different than like jobbing.
Yeah.
And I use the term jobbing loosely because I don't like the term jobbing, but as an enhancement talent, just my first year I was a bad guy, and my job as a bad guy is to make the good guy look amazing, and I loved my job. I mean, I got to be in there and I got to get a reaction out of the crowd, whether it's good reaction or a bad reaction. That
as long as you're getting something,
right? As long as I'm getting a reaction, I'm happy. But sorry, I just went off a tangent. Totally forgot what I was going to say. But right. So my first year, paying dues means something completely different. Like, to me, I was always that guy. Like, paying dues. What our trainer taught us, paying dues doesn't necessarily mean like the money you pay or the jobbing. Paying your dues is showing up to the arena 3 hours early, waiting around to see if there's anything you do to help. Putting up chairs, if you see guys putting up chairs. If they're bringing in the ring, help them bring in the ring. Help them set up the ring. Sweeping the canvas, mopping the floors. Do they need someone to run the merchandise stand? Go run the merchandise stand. Do they need someone to serve hot dogs? Go serve hot dogs. I mean, literally do any job in the arena, which I did that, and to this day, I'll still happily do, until I hit the wrestler mark, and, maybe if I am a wrestler, and they want, hey, we need someone on the merch stand, can I throw a mask on so no one knows it's me? I mean, like, I don't want them to see me in the ring 1 week and then, hey, I'm serving hot dogs, but, it doesn't matter to me. When I join a company, I'm there to help. I'm there to do whatever they ask of me. I mean, to this day, like, I'm part of TWF. I got guys who message me, hey, can you make me an 8x10? Yeah, no problem. Do I need to pay you anything? No, I don't care.
I know you're one of the few guys I've seen kind of maybe, here in the local scene that you got your own merch.
Yeah.
Which that does help probably in terms of getting.
And everybody has merch, but I mean, like, I really understood kind of like the business and the advertising side of it because I went to advertising school. And so,
I mean, that's half the battle. I mean, I know guys in the WWE. I'm like, I'm not a very good wrestler, but they probably make a lot of money because their merchandise. Or
right, and I just understood right away that I have to sell myself. I have to sell who I am, and how are people going to know my name unless they see it stamped on everything? Stamped on stickers, stamped on 8x10, stamped on.
You're taking the
t-shirts,
the KISS
hats.
model.
I mean, like look at my hat. It says. I mean, I think I had that made the second week of training. It was like I knew I was gonna be Arch. That was I knew that for sure. So I just had a hat, Arch, and then once the name came together, I had a T-shirt made, and it was one T-shirt. It wasn't like I was out selling them. It was for me. It was just something for me to be like, hey, I'm here.
Yeah, taking the KISS model, like.
Yeah. Very much like Gene Simmons, just stamp my name on everything. Andrew Arch condoms. No, just playing. That would never happen.
Next thing you know, if you get like Gene Simmons, you'll tell us you invented pro wrestling.
Oh, there you go. Hey, there you go, man. Definitely. But no, I mean that was just one of those things that was like instilled in me. Find a way to get yourself noticed. Find a way for people to remember you. And the first thing I made was a T-shirt that had like, other than the hat, was like a T-shirt that had like skulls and roses and things I liked. And people really like stuff like that. And I made it for me, and people go, hey, where do I get that? And I was like, well, you can buy one from me if you want. I order them from this website, and just hit me up, and I'll order one for you. And yeah, that's just kind of how it started.
Awesome. So, who are some of your favorite matches you've had or favorite opponents you've been in the ring with?
Christian Sky.
Right
Yeah,
off the
that's
bat.
okay. So, not anything against Christian because he really is one of my favorite opponents. My favorite match that I've ever had was against Rick Luxury and Will Roberts.
Awesome.
A close second would be the one I had against Scoot Robertson. The reason is because it was a learning experience, like such an amazing learning experience. We were doing a double header in a show, and I went out and did a. I think we went out to Oakland, did a show out there, and like wasn't the greatest match in my history of matches that I had, and I got in a bit of trouble, and went and did the show the next day, and I don't know the terms of how this conversation went down or what happened. I guess a tag team didn't show up for Colt 45, and I guess I don't know if Rick's Luxury or someone else who said it, but essentially what happened was 5 minutes before we went out the curtain, I was set to face someone else, and they go, Arch, and blah, 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 because I don't want to drop too many names. You guys are tagging. And I was like, against who? Rick Luxury. And I just dropped, I had a water bottle in my hand. They go, Colt 45, drop my water bottle. Boom.
Move.
Yeah. And I went, so I need to change into my brown tights.
Hold on, real quick. Let me.
Hold on. Because they are amazing wrestlers, and it was funny because at first I thought we did something wrong, so I thought we were gonna go out there and like they were gonna teach us a lesson, but no, just amazing wrestlers, amazing minds. Just learn. I in 10 minutes in the ring, I learned more matches or more about a wrestling match than I did in 10 matches.
That's a huge learning experience. So I know I've talked to a few other indie wrestlers and stuff, but how do you work? Is it for you just hey, I just want to wrestle? Obviously, you said you love wrestling, but do you ever get a chance, to get on the mic and cut a promo and get that aspect in it? Because to me, that's like what I love about
usually
wrestling.
happens when I'm pissed. That's when my best promos come. Yeah, definitely. I don't do it often, but I definitely have had more exposure to do it in TWF. But I think all my best promos have happened when there's emotion behind it. I can stand in front of a camera and probably do like 15 takes.
Yeah.
But you only got one take when you're in front of a crowd. And yeah, I did one for, I think we were in Manteca for TWF, and we had just won the TWF tag team titles. Me and my partner, Matthias Jackson, or Matt Fury to you TWF fans. And yeah, we had a great match, and then came out and cut a promo and said what I had to say and walked back through the curtain, and one of the respected guys backstage came up and went, man, I didn't know you could talk like that. That was awesome. Good job. And I went, thanks. I was pissed. So I just realized, like, when I'm mad, I can talk.
So this is another big thing that I've always thought about, especially because, like, we always know that the behind the scenes WWE, like, they've got timing things, especially since you kind of, I would say, started a company. How does that work in terms of, like, match placement and stuff? Obviously, like, from your aspect, you running it. Were you running the booking when it came to Valley Championship Wrestling?
Yeah, I was kind of doing everything.
Yeah. How was that?
I mean, our first show, I had a little bit of help, but when it came to the second show, yeah, I was pretty much doing everything. I mean, I had guys who gave me advice, but end of the day, like, it was really, all right, Arch, what are we doing?
How does that, like, timing a show too? Because obviously, a big company like WWE, they've got time restraints in terms of TV. Do you guys kind of go, hey, you got this much time, you got this much time?
Okay, so I can only speak for myself. Like, I don't know how guys in SPW, APW, or whatever, I don't know how they would do it. Yeah, I should, but I don't. I always did it to where, like, okay, well, this segment we want to be 15 minutes. Let's make their match 10 minutes. So that way they have a little bit of
Runoff.
wiggle room. Like, you know, you include entrances. You know, if they run over, it's whatever. And we were blessed at the time that the venue didn't really care what time we ended. So I mean, if we ran over, like our main event, I think was supposed to be like 20 minutes, and we did 35.
Okay,
So
that helps with a venue, though.
Right. And most of the time, I leave depending on who's in the match. I leave it at the decision of the wrestlers, because I would go, let's say, 20 minutes. You know, if they do, if it's like the first match, Jacob Fatu and Aaron Scott, was like, shoot, guys. I mean, go out there and tell the story. If you go 15 minutes, 25 minutes, that's whatever. Just try not to do 30. You know, just try to keep it within this time frame. And I kind of leave it up to the guys who, you know, I don't need to explain to them what their match is. You know, I just need to walk up and say, hey, here's what I want to go over.
Awesome.
You know, and then they go out there and do their job.
So, in terms of where can we find Andrew Arch? Where can we find your upcoming shows that you're going to be on? Anything like that?
Well, for that, you would go to facebook.com/Andrew Arch, the Andrew Arch, I believe it is. Instagram, you can find me at Instagram, _Andrew_Arch.
Very official.
Right, the official Andrew Arch Instagram page. You could also go to Brown Butter Wrestling. If you scroll down, you'll see a nice little picture of Andrew Arch. And on there, you can find all my upcoming events and merchandise available only today at brownbutterwrestling.com.
Brown Butter Wrestling. That's a name for a website right there.
I don't know where the name came from, but I like it.
That's a hell of a name right there.
Brown Butter Wrestling is pretty much pro wrestling tees for people who can't get onto pro wrestling tees. It's a company started by a man named Corey Brown. Very blessed. So Corey, I hope you appreciate this little plug here.
Also, the name like Brown Butter Wrestling, like that. I just want a shirt that says that.
Right, and the thing is, like, I can't find a Brown Butter Wrestling T-shirt anywhere on the website. Like,
you go to Pro Wrestling Tees, they've got Pro Wrestling T-shirt.
Right.
Like, I want a Brown Butter.
There's no Brown Butter Wrestling T-shirts anywhere, and I'm just like, you're gonna have a website, but you have no T-shirts for yourself. I mean, I get it, you're helping other guys out, but like, shoot, I want to walk in a place so people can be like, what's Brown Butter Wrestling? Well, it's this awesome website where if you go to brownbutterwrestling.com and search Andrew Arch, you know, you can buy my T-shirts today.
All right, so cool. Once again, I appreciate you coming on, talking all things pro wrestling, everything like that. Appreciate it. Definitely check out. So Facebook.
That was 45 minutes already.
Yeah, 45 minutes.
Dang, man! I'm like,
it goes by fast when you're talking wrestling.
Yeah, just had fun. We'll have to definitely do it again because there's so much stuff we didn't talk about.
I know.
So
I don't want to oversaturate. We got you gotta we call that a tease in the business, right?
A slow burn.
So Andrew Arch on Facebook, Instagram, and then Brown Butter Wrestling.
Hey, there you
get the show, Brown Butter Wrestling. So I appreciate it, man. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you for having me, man. It's awesome.
All right. Once again, I want to thank Andrew Arch for coming on this week and having a discussion. Great interview. All things pro wrestling. What's going on in his world? Definitely go on Facebook and check him out at Andrew Arch. Give his fan page a like. If he's in your local town in the Northern California area, go see him wrestle. He's a super dude, super talented dude. So definitely check him out. As we wrap up this week's episode, I wanted to give one more shout out. If you are listening, you happen to know the new graphics for the show. I want to give a shout out to my man Dave Silva, all the way out in Texas. He designed it, came up with it. Great graphic, love it. He also does graphic works for Conrad Thompson out there that does the podcast Something to Wrestle with Bruce Pritchard and What Happened When Mondays with Tony Schiavone. He's a great dude. So if you need any graphics help, definitely hit him up. Hit him up on Twitter. Give him a follow at DJ Silva 1975. That's DJ Silva 1975. If you need any help with any graphics, hit that man up. He's a great dude and does phenomenal work. Once again, I want to remind everybody to check out the social media links for the podcast. Twitter handle, Nick's R&W Podcast. The YouTube channel, search Nick's Rock and Wrestling Podcast and go to channels and hit subscribe. On Facebook, Nick's Rock and Wrestling Podcast. On the Gmail, Rock and Wrestling Podcast gmail.com. Hit me up. Let's discuss wrestling. Let's discuss rock and roll, whatever you want to talk about. Any suggestions for the show. And next week's episode, we will have Norman Skinner from American power metal band Nevaeh right here in Sacramento. They got a lot of big things in the works, so he's going to be my guest next week. Also, next week, as I mentioned earlier in the episode, I am going to see Chris Jericho's band Fozzy this coming Tuesday in San Francisco, so I'll have a little recap on that. I got myself some VIP tickets so I can meet Chris Jericho. Love his band Fozzy. The new record Judas is awesome. So going to see them live. I'm going to give a little bit of recap, and we'll have Norman Skinner from Nevaeh on next week. Enjoy your week, guys. Go subscribe on the YouTube channel, and I'll have some bonus content up there this weekend. Check it out.